Welcome back everyone. Guess what? The OnePlus 8 has actually been out for a little over a year now, so let's go and see how this thing's been holding up for the last year or two. Well, actually the last year, I don't know why I said two. Now this thing, when it first came out, I really do think people's opinions on OnePlus at that time were very, very positive. I think this phone could have potentially been, the 8T more, but this phone is like the last OnePlus device to have like a super positive reputation. I think the 7 Pro was beautiful, and this phone was obviously not perfect. It did skimp out on a couple things, but since then, OnePlus's reputation has really taken a toll and like a nosedive down since their merger with Oppo or whatever that was, and now their software is switching away from what it used to be to now like Color OS or whatever that was. And that's the thing with the OnePlus. My favorite thing about OnePlus was the software, and now it's looking like Google with the stock Android is looking to be number one again, and Oxygen OS, since it's phased out, to be Color OS. I'm not a fan of it. People are not happy about it, and it's been really taking a huge toll on OnePlus. Now the body of the OnePlus 8 still feels really good. 6.55-inch Fluid AMOLED display, 90Hz on the front. Still looks very good, hole punch display. And visually, this is one of those phones that just looks so good on the camera. You can tell just from any video that I've seen of the OnePlus 8, it just looks so good. It's such a photogenic device. It's almost reminiscent of like the Galaxy Note 10. So this phone, I love it. It still looks very good, and it's still one of my favorite devices still. USB Type-C on the bottom, frosted glass back with that triple camera setup in a way. So it has that 48 megapixel wide, 16 megapixel ultra wide, then 2 megapixel macro lens. And here's the thing, you can do 4K at 60 on that back camera. It's definitely not a perfect phone. It definitely, isn't a perfect device overall, but it's a good enough camera. And I think with OnePlus, especially, their camera was probably their most lackluster thing of their phone. It definitely was something that, you kind of have to like consider when buying a OnePlus phone, that you're getting a really good phone. Just the camera really isn't that great, but everything else about this one I'm pretty happy about, to be completely honest. The front camera obviously was that 16 megapixel sensor, and no 4K at 60 on the front, no even 1080p at 60 on the front, only 1080p at 30. Very embarrassing for OnePlus. I don't know why they did this, but again, there's nothing we can really do about it as of this point. Now that pretty much covers it up in the camera standpoint. Now software wise, again, this was the best thing about OnePlus that they've completely changed. It started off with Android 10, it did get Oxygen OS 11, and now it's getting Android 12 at some point, but it's not getting the Android that we known and loved with the OnePlus device. So we'll see how it goes. There's probably going to be a lot of custom ROMs and stuff for this thing, but again, I'm just not super happy about OnePlus and the way they kind of went about this specific phone, in my opinion. The battery life is still very good, 4300 milliamp hours, still a very good size. OnePlus 9 kind of went up a little bit, but I'm still very happy about this specific device's battery life for sure. Now ending it off with the performance, this phone has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 chipset inside of it, an octa-core CPU, Adreno 650 GPU, and 8 gigs of RAM on the base model and 12 gigs of RAM on the top tier model. And like I mentioned before, having this type of phone with this type of performance is one of the best things you can do. This is still a very good performing phone. The 90Hz refresh rate really adds a lot more character to this device, and I think having this type of phone with this type of performance, you are pretty much set for forever. You're going to be pretty much good for the most part. Light apps work perfectly fine. Heavier intensive apps work perfectly fine too. It's not until you get into like that super intensive, maybe like multitasking between humongous apps, that's maybe when you'll see a little bit of a problem. But even then, it's not that big of a deal. There is some choppiness here and there with like bigger games, like I mentioned, but this thing had that best chipset of last year, so it's only one generation behind barely. So in terms of performance, that covers it up there. And I think the OnePlus 8 for the last year, it's been a really good ride. I just think it had a very weird reputation now because of OnePlus's standing on where they are with Oppo, I think if that wasn't the case, then OnePlus would be in a very good situation. But now it's like, what do we do? Do we get the OnePlus 8 where it's going to be changed for the worse in like a year or two? Or do we just keep it on, custom ROM? Or do you just go buy a Google Pixel? That's kind of where we're at now. And I love the OnePlus 8. It's a very good phone, but I guess we'll see what happens in the future. So that pretty much covers it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly, everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.